What's up, chat? Um, we are live, so let's see here. Okay. Yeah, so this is coding with coding every day till I can build a full stack application. So yesterday we were working on uh, Instagram clone, right? And we didn't do the JavaScript, but I went ahead off stream and did all of that. So now it works. I need to quote like the big B's. But before that, let me actually make it good so that I know that I need it. So yeah, here's the JavaScript for the whole site. I'm gonna launch it live so that you guys can see it in real time. Yeah, we finished it. As you can see, instead of having art inputs, it actually imports. Yeah, it actually imports from the JSON. So we have the name. Sorry if I'm being slow, because I was asleep. I just woke up. I was looking up in the stream, but it was already late for me. I had so much going on today, but I just had to wake up and sleep like that. So now I'm awake and I'm trying to stream. So hold on, let me pull up chat on my phone before I continue. Okay. Oh, what's up, Zert Fullstack? We were building. I remember yesterday you left me on this, right? So we actually finished it. We. You wait till I'm done. Yeah, It's not gonna be a long stream, bro. I started stream late, kind of like it's almost midnight for me. So we reached here. So we have this. Everything renders. So we created a function and all that renders all the elements and got the element by ID. But yeah, we implemented JavaScript so that we don't have to hard code the values or the whatever we need on our site to be hard coded. So that's why we have the JavaScript. So anytime we add a new value, it should automatically get posted into here where we can now just see it live for likes and whoever made a comment. So yeah. So now I think what I want to do is I want to make the like function or the the like. So every time I click this, it just adds the likes. So for this, I need to wake up. It's just a full stack. I hope you're having a good day, bro. I hope you actually stream today, cause you didn't miss a day, bro. You didn't miss a day. We're aiming for consistency. So right now, what I need to do is make this like button work function. So I think I'll go ahead and start by grabbing the ID. It should be. I think I grabbed all these and put them all at the top. think I'll close this. So Mr. Const will make it like button equal to document don't get element ID to give this a specific element. So here it is right here. So I need to give it an ID of like button. So from here we have the like button grabbed, and what we need to do is create. Do we need to create a function? I don't know. I'm just gonna come down here under all this. I'm gonna say like button add event listener. I don't think it's gonna work since it's an image. Add event listener. I'm gonna make it click. Do that function. I'm gonna do that. So every time it's clicked, we need to change. So we need to get this. It's the image. That was our name location. Likes. I don't know if it's accessible outside of the function low key. So let's see. Hold on. I don't think that's how it works. So I think we need to change that to make an image tag. So here it says okay. Do we need to add an A tag? Do we need to add an A tag around it? No. No. What I'm trying to do is every time I click this art button, it should increase the likes over here. So that's what I'm trying to do. Hold on. Oh, just click this. A tag has nothing to do with it. You need to click and listen on the button. But yeah, this isn't a button though. This is an image. So right here, this is not a button. All these are images, but I just wanted for specifically this one. Yeah, I called it like button. Yeah, yes I did. I give it the ID of like button. created a variable for it and got the element by ID. Okay, that's what I have here. But then this. So I'm checking GitHub. I don't wanna look at VS Code. I mean not VS Code. Um co AI for now. So that's why I'm reverting to my previous project to know how I implemented like on click increment. So something like, remember I had right here. Yeah, I don't know. I realize that using AI a lot is gonna be bad for me eventually. So that's why we're here. And that's two. Yeah, this is pretty simple. So incrementing. Oh, so what we did is you used on click over here. But I'm like, why is the add event listed? Okay. Uh, see this one. It's the same thing. So first declare it. Let's go. Let's go. Okay. I don't know if I'm doing it right, honestly, but hey, let's just try it out. Yeah, I don't think this is the right way. Why you so camera shy? Can you put your cam on the right? Cause let me see. You put your cam on the right because. Okay, let me do that real quick. Hold on, hold on. Hold on. There we go. Should be able to see now. So yeah, this is where we're at right now. I'm like, whoops. This is code. Why did that spray the whole site? So there are either two things here. I think one of them's correct. Either stupid. What? Oh yeah. Hold on, hold on. Hold on. On. Tomorrow. Oops. But did I read this whole thing? Let's just go back here. I invite you to this. Is it not fired? Oh. Oh. I was expected. You're saying max is defined only within that for loop. Yeah. Um. So I don't know if I'm supposed to make this function and whatever inside the for loop. Honestly. Anything. Do I know what I'm doing? No. Am I thinking? No. Why? It's midnight. Okay, there we go. So, know that works. So we just need to comment this up. Up. Show if we see. Let's. Okay. That's fine. That's fine. I don't get it though. Why is it breaking? Is it because it's inside the folder? No, let me know more. Yes, bro. I think that's the goal. Yeah, just act like you don't have access to help me. Let me figure this out, even though it's midnight. Let me just, go the dumb route and then actually try and think. Hmm? How do you make an error function? Let me keep my number function. It's probably the reason why I can't do that. Yeah, rewrite it. This must have been, yeah. All these answers, which means I cannot find it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know what? You can step in, bro. You can step in and help. Um, let's just see. Okay. Oh. Oh. Declare the like. Really? I thought this is global though. Okay. Go like this. Or inside here. Although I don't think this is inside the function, but it's just inside the for loop. So yeah. Let me just take it back to what you said. And then we can work all the way from there. So you see the way this guy is doing it though? He has the, it's selecting it, also using the index. Does it nest? Hold on, I can't even use my phone. Hold on, maybe I can. Okay. I do. Oh, okay. Hold on. Does it nest further? What do you mean, like the function? I don't think so, cause it's just. Oh, I don't know what you mean. What do you mean nests further? Of what exactly? Oh wait, I was thinking so right. Oh. Okay. I don't think it's gonna work, but. Oh, okay, that's the. Nope. Need. Oh, wait. Anytime I see these var variables, I already know this thing's old. Var, document. Okay. Selects the button. So it checks on the buttons. Index. Okay. Well, I guess once in a while, you always gotta trust in your trusty tools, you know? Want to make the like button increment each time I click the art image. So just want you to guide. Here's a guide to help you rethink the structure. The ID conflict in your loop, you're giving every 5 members the same ID. The problem each email ID must be unique. If you have 3 cores, suppose you have 3 hearts with the same ID. When you use document backup another ID, tells you can only see the first one. Okay. You don't actually need an ID for this, since you're building these posts dynamically. There's a way to handle the code. Did you find the index? Currently, you're trying to find the like button inside the loop for the HTML page. Post all the image HTML equals all samples after the loop. This means while the loop is running, those are images to exist on the screen yet. So, so why am I setting it after? Was I doing that? Ooh. Damn. After you rented all the HTML, the loop through that list of images and add a click listener to each one. Thing is, let me actually try and think before I ask it. Thing is, this renders outside of the loop. So how can I? I don't know. Build a string injected into the DOM. Find elements that were just injected. The render sequence. Since post inner HTML happens outside the loop, it is actually the perfect place to start your interactivity logic. Think of it like building a house. The loop is the construction phase. Hold on. Okay. Yo? Okay. The loop is the construction phase where you pre-build the walls. The inner HTML line is where you actually place the house on the launch. Only after the house on the launch you can go outside and install light switch. Once posts on anything from the browser, it's created hot images. Now you can grab them. So just put this outside. Okay. So, but I can't access this. Which once again, new stream, with the new numbers. And overwrite that mode. Okay. And overwrite the old HTML. If you add that event listed before, I will look about an empty list. Oh, this is like a question. So I think I need to do the query selector thing. This. For each. Okay, I haven't learned about it for each, bro. Hold on. I think it's an essential JavaScript. By the way, hey. Let me put you guys on. Let me put you guys on. Before I check it out, you know, you do want 20% off of Scrimba. You can use my link, which is scrimba.com/fabs to get 20% off. That helps me a lot. I can support I can change my life, bro. I can change my life. Okay, just you can use my code and you will get 20% off any course. They have front end, back end, and more, way more. So yeah, be sure to check it out. Be sure to check it out. You're also supporting me, so hey, that's good. Back to the video. Let's see. I think this is an essential JavaScript. Or okay, it doesn't really matter where it's at, but damn. Like, yeah, for each. So I don't know. I don't know, but yeah, that's really crazy. So, guys, think what I'm thinking. Also, this formatting isn't supposed to be like this. It's supposed to be this way. What? Give me what you want, 'cause you're always all I need. I know you gon' make that. There we go. We have 3 viewers. Oh my. What a blessing. Okay, so I don't think since for loop is way ahead of me, and I'm basically going ahead of my time, what we can do, we can put it as a side thing, because that's not, part of the course, bro. I don't want to go out of the way to do all that, you know. I know most of you guys will be like, no, please go for it, but I want what Scrimba has planned for me, so hey, that's what I'm gonna take. I'll look into it. I have to watch a few videos on it. Maybe we'll come back and make this. Actually, I don't even know why I'm just return off. Okay, it's good there. Alright, so we have this going. Okay. Here's where we reached, so I think I'm gonna commit so that fixed new issues, adding my system. So boom. So yeah, gonna leave it at where it's at. Probably gonna be a side project because I want to really rush this and get it over with. So yeah, so that's that. So we need to go back to Scrimba. Now we need to go ahead and get started with this actually. So building a co-working space site. So I already finished this, but we went 2 steps ahead, rendered it using JavaScript. So let's get into this. Yes.
Welcome to this project. We are going to build a neat layout for a co-working space site. Now, at first glance, it's a pretty simple layout. We've got a header, we've got some headline text, and then we've got an image with a caption underneath and a button, and that is actually repeated 3 times as we scroll down the layout. But there's actually more to this than meets the eye. To get all of the elements in the header spaced out how we want them, we're going to have to level up our Flexbox node. Also, we've got a banner here which is sitting on top of the image, and we've got this chat box icon here, which is always in the bottom right-hand corner of the window, no matter where on the site you scroll. On top of that, we're going to see some interesting behavior when we try to add these up. So let's just preview the concepts that we're going to start. We'll be using margin auto on FlexTune. We'll be looking at position, absolute, relative. We'll be using the align self property and looking at position. And of course, along the way, great practice opportunities for the CSS that you've already. Let's take a look at the HTML that we've already. So we've got a header section here, which holds the nav element, which consists of this unordered list. And inside this unordered list, at the moment, we've got this item. We've got the logo, we barely work, and an image for the location pin icon, and you can see that horrible, ugly, unstyled header right here, and this is the location pin icon that you can just make out. Underneath that, we have got the main, and that is divided up into sections. The first section has got this H1 text that you can see here, and underneath that, we've got 3 sections with the item. Each one has got an image and a div with the caption, and that has just got the caption for the image, and you can see that down here. Now you've probably noticed that there are some things on the slide which we haven't got HTML for. The menu icon, the image banner, the chat box, the button. We'll be adding in HTML later as we go along, and using our new skills to get them displayed. But before we study those new skills, we need to build out the foundation of this layout. And we can do that with CSS concepts that we've already studied. So the first challenge for this project is going to be to recycle your existing knowledge to build as much of this layout as possible. So let's get started with that in the next sprint, where I'll explain the task in more detail. When you're ready, I'll see you there.
All right. Oh.
To complete this project, we're going to need to study some new concepts. But what I've got in these screenshots on the slide is a partial build of this layout you can create with the CSS skills that you've already got. Then, when we've got that foundation,
No. Yeah, stay. Alright, though.
we can set about learning new skills and adding features. So this is your challenge. I want you to get this layout looking like the screenshot on this slide. Now this is quite a big challenge, but I've done a couple of things to help. Firstly, we've got all of the HTML that we've already looked at, including this line right here, which brings in the Montserrat font and Google font, and that is the font we'll be using throughout. Also, in index.css, I've given you a body selector with the margin set to 0 and the padding also. So don't say I never give you. Now in the real world, you'll often be working with Figma files or something similar. So I have mocked up the designer to help with this. Let's quickly check it out. We've got this dark color up here, which we're using and the font this UL 18 pixels and a font weight and here's the paragraph of the page. Google anything you get stuck on, and we'll have a look together when you're done.
Go ahead. So let's first start by changing the header color. So we need to come here and see where it's at. Just will barely work. Okay. Three. Okay. Okay, the font set right. So we'll come to the bottom. Font family. Dang it. Font sound. Adding of the UL 25 pixels, so let's do. Okay. Logo, so that should be 18 pixels. Wait a second. Icon has the width of 35 pixels. So Each turn of the text decoration. Oh my. Each one size 40 pixels per 100. X margin. X margin. Then caption, margin. Mobile stream. Font size at 2 pixel. Alright, got that out of the way.
Let's where they are.
Just go through
Where they are.
these.
When you're ready for that, I'll see you in the next. Let's look at a way. Position of a child element inside a flex container by setting the margin property. This is quite a common. We have got a container here, and we want to take an element inside that container in a specific position. The method we're going to look at gives us 9 places inside where we can position our child element really. We can place it in the top center, the top right, the mid right, the mid left, the center, right in the center, or the mid right, and of course the bottom left, the bottom center, or the bottom right. All of those 9 positions are really easy. So how are we going to do this? We're going to use a combination of the margin properties set to remember in CSS we have got margin left, margin right, and margin top, and margin bottom all at our disposal. So let's have a look at some code and see how I'm creating a new. If we have a look at index.html, we can see that we've got a div here with the class of mean. And over in index.css, we've got mean container right here, and the background image of a laughing smiley. There's nothing particularly special about this at the moment. We've got a fixed the background size is set. The background size is set. I've positioned it horizontally in the center with the margin set right, and I've given it 30 pixels top and bottom just space out nicely. And I've added a now the first thing I want to do, and this is important, is set this div to display flex. What we're looking at here specifically is positioning an element in a Linux container. And if we flip back to index.html, inside meme container, I've got another div with the class of meme. So this is a child of meme container, which we've just made into a flex. At the moment, meme text is transparent. But if we go back to index.css, let's just uncomment its background color, and there we are. Now, so what's happening is this div has got a fixed width, but no height, so it is stretching to fill its container. So before we do anything else, let's bring in the text, which I've just got commented out, and we've got when the cat gets blamed for something. That's why the Husky. Okay, so we have our meme. But this child div is obscuring. So let's position this somewhere sensible. And I'm going to try right. So I'll come over to index.css. We've already got display flex on the container. So I'm going to come in here. And I'm going to set the margin left to auto. Next, I'll set the margin bottom to auto. And there we are. Now it's positioned top right. Well, this is kind of counterintuitive. The child element gets pushed in the opposite direction of what we write here. And so when we set the margin left, it pushes the element to the right. When we set margin bottom, it pushes the element to the top. You just have to remember to set the margin property to opposite to the direction you want.
Today, Walsa did not remind me. I need to change what the stream is saying. It's probably saying day 5 or day 4. I think it's saying day 5. I need to come to stream, mute this, and then I need to change what it's saying. Day 6. I always keep on forgetting. So yeah, now it should be okay. Day 6, day 5, day 4 part 2. Okay, yeah, we're good.
To push the div. Okay, a quick challenge for you. I'm going to delete these two, and I want you to position the mean text in the bottom right-hand corner of the container. So I want to see it. Pause now and get that sorted.
Okay, so he said margin top auto margin left
So let's set what do you think would happen if we pushed it both right at the same time? Well, let's give it a try. We've got margin left auto. Let's add margin right. Well, look at that. We've got it horizontally in the center. Update this challenge to a new one. I want you to position mean text div in the center of the container. So we've got it centrally aligned on the horizontal. Now I want it to be centrally aligned on the vertical. Pause now. And get that sorted. And this line here is doing the same as these so we can take them away. So we can take them away, just like set to auto, the bottom right hand. Margin right set to the margin right of pushing the child element. Okay, time for your final challenge. Using shorthand like we're doing here, position the mean text div back in the bottom right hand corner. Okay, pause now and position that child element. Well, the image. Well, the background image. There's the background image. There's specific here. Some of what we've learned, and some of what we've learned, in our layout, back in our layout. Our menu icon is in the wrong. What can we do to make it align to the right, just like we've got in this speech? Well, everything that we see in this header is inside this UL element, which is set to display. And if we have a look at index.html, we can see the UL element right here, and it's got these three children, which are all listed. This last one holds the menu icon, and you can see it's got a class of align. So let's head over to index.css. I'm going to come in here, and I'll set up a selector for align right. And now I'm going to paste you a channel. And this is it. I want you to add a line of CSS, position the menu icon at the right-hand end of the UL. The logo and location pin should remain where they are. Okay, pause now. Okay, use all of the skills you learned in the last. Get this menu icon positioned correctly, and I'll see you back here in just a moment.
All right. Let's top. This is right. It's the bottom. This left. Dang. I can't believe I failed that one.
That challenge, it is quite a quirky bit of CSS and a really useful skill. Now the next feature we're going to add to this layout is this image banner which sits right here on top of this. But to get an element to sit on top of another element, we need to study the CSS position property, specifically position relatives and position. So let's come on to that. In the next. Let's take a look at the CSS position and specifically how we can use position relative and position absolute to take an element outside of the main flow of content and position it on top of other. Let's take a look at a diagram to see what I'm talking about. So we have a container div and three elements with content inside that. Now I want to take this green element outside of the regular flow of content and position it still inside this container, but on top of other. So I might, for example, want to place it up here in the top left-hand corner. So to do that, the first thing I need to do is set this element to position. And then I also need to tell it that I want it to be 0 pixels and 0 pixels and 0 pixels. And what happens when I do that? Well, it disappears from the flow of content. It flies out of the container and ends up in the top left hand of the window. That is not what we want. So why has this happened? Well, we've taken this element out of the flow of content, but we haven't given it any instructions on how it should be contained. Once you use position
position.
The fact that this element's HTML is inside this yellow container is irrelevant. At the moment, this element is assuming it just needs to be contained somewhere in the window. So the top property of 0 and the left property of 0 have just positioned it right in the top left. 0 pixels from the top, 0 pixels from the top, 0 pixels from the left. So if we want it to be contained inside our yellow container, we have to set the container div to position relative. That is really important. Now I just want to say this is a bit of a simplification. It doesn't have to be position relative. There are other settings on the position property that will work, but it's most common to set it to position relative, and that's definitely what we'll be doing today. So we set this container div to position relative, and now our green element appears exactly where we expected it to. 0 pixels from the top of the container and 0 pixels from the left. And now we can use these top and left properties to very precisely position this element wherever we want. So we might, for example, want it 60 pixels from the top, 60 pixels from the top, 15 pixels from the left, or perhaps here 100 pixels from the top and just 3 pixels. Okay, that's the principle. Okay, that's the principle. The best thing to do now is get hands-on with some. This is Scrimber's very own, and we are going to predict the weather for Hawaii. Well, guess what? It is warm and sunny in Hawaii, and down here I've got a sun emoji and a temperature of 28 degrees C. 28 degrees C is just over 82 degrees. So I want to position this sun emoji right up here, somewhere near Honolulu. So let's check the code and see what we've got so far. Over in index.html, we have this div called map container, and we have a map of Hawaii, which is this image right here. Then we've got the div with a class of sun icon holding the sun emoji, and a div with the class of temperature, which is just holding the 28 degree temperature. Now in terms of CSS, we've got the map container. Why don't we just put a border on it so we can see it really clear? Okay, so now we can see that the map, which we're controlling with this image selector, is taking up 100% of the width, and then underneath that we've got our sun icon, and we've got our temperature icon, which we'll come on to a little bit. So now I want to get this sun icon out of the flow of content and sitting on top of the map right up here. So the first thing I'm going to do then is set the sun icon to position at. And all that's done is take the sun out of the flow of content, so now it's actually sitting on top. Let's use the top and left properties to position it in the top left-hand corner. And look what's happened. We've got it right up here in the top corner of the window. That is not good. We have got that sun emoji right here inside this div with the class of map container, which we can see with this red border, and we actually want to keep that inside the red border. So what we need to do then is go back to index.css. We need to find map container and set it to position relative. Okay, that has worked. Now we've got the sun emoji inside its container, and it is 0 pixels from the top and 0 pixels from the. So remember, when you set an element to position absolute, and then you position it with top and left or bottom and right properties, the element needs to know where to start measuring. It will then look for a position parent element. At first, the direct parent, which was map did not have position relative set. So our sun emoji looked for another parent. It didn't find any other parent, and so it set itself relative to the whole window. As soon as we set the map container to position relative, it positioned itself relative to that container and appeared where we expected. So usually when we're using position absolute, you need a container div to have a position unless you actually want to position it relative to the window. Now I don't want this sun right here. I want it over here near Honolulu. So I am going to put it some 10 pixels from the top and 120 pixels from the left. Okay, that is looking pretty good. Now it is your turn. Here we've got the temperature selector. We've got the temperature of 28 degrees position the temperature div next to the sun.
So I want it somewhere.
Pause now. Position
Pause
the
now.
temperature.
Position the temperature, and I'll see you back here in
Degrees
just a
down
minute.
here.
Position
the temperature div.
Position the temperature div next to the sun.
So I want it
emoji.
somewhere.
So I want it somewhere.
Pause now.
up.
Position the
Pause
temperature.
now. Position the temperature, and I'll see you back here in just a minute.
All right. So this guy said position. I mean, absolutely. All right. Top 0. Oh, left 0. All right. New top 20 pixels. If you do left 120 pixels. Let's do top 50 pixels. Or 70 pixels. Actually, let's do 100 pixels. I mean, 200 pixels.
Few adjustments.
And
right.
And right.
Let me just.
Otherwise,
Screen readers can translate
emoji into words. However, this is not a good solution from an accessibility.
So we need to do something.
So we need to do something
now
about
in the real world.
Now,
it
in the
would be
real
better
world,
to
it would be better to dynamically create the forecast image and then add out text which describes not just the map, but the entire
That would
forecast.
be a much
That would be a much better solution than what we've got here. So how about we mock that up by doing something similar to what we did a few scrims back?
We're going to do this as a
we're going to do this as a challenge.
Okay, here's your challenge.
Okay, here's your challenge. Make it so that the map container div that we've got right here and everything inside it is treated as
use
an
an
image.
ARIA label
Use an
to add
ARIA
descriptive
label
text
to add
for
descriptive
screen
text for screen reading.
You learned this? I think it's what I skipped. Uh-oh. It's not good. This is not good.
Our menu I want it. And every time I do this, I just think it's so cool that you can do this with one simple line of CSS. And congratulations for completing that challenge. It is quite a quirky bit of CSS and a really useful skill. Now the next feature we're going to add to this layout is this image banner which sits right here on top of this. But to get an element to sit on top of another element, we need to study the CSS position property. Specifically position relatives and position. So let's come on to that. In the next group.
But before we move on, we need to deal with a major problem. The image that we have here is an essential part of our
Without the
content.
dog,
Without the dog, this meme doesn't make much
But
sense.
look at how I've displayed
If we look at the HTML, the image is not here. There is no image tag. And in fact, the image is coming from the CSS. We've got it set as a background image right here. So it's the background image on the main dash container.
This is a huge accessibility
issue because assistive technologies like screen readers will not be able to express the meaning of this image. There's no alt text on a CSS background
and that's
image.
why the best way to display an image that is forming an essential part of your content
is to use an HTML image tag and give it a description using
And just to be clear, that's not
needed for a purely decorative image, which has no relation to the content. This image is specifically related to the content. In fact, it is the content.
Okay, so what happens
if you find yourself in a situation where using an image tag is not possible? Well, there is another option. We can come to the HTML and here's the meme container.
And what we can do is
give this div the role of image. And we do that like this.
So it's just roll equals. What this will do is flag to screen readers that this div is behaving as an image. And we can then use aria label to provide alt text. And I'll just close the mini browser as this is getting quite long across the page. Okay, there's some alt text. A smiling dog. Now what most screen readers are going to do is take this entire div, which has the role of an image, and treat it as one. They will actually not access the individual content which is inside the div. So the screen readers will not look, for example, at this div, and therefore will not read this text. So what we need to make sure then is that our aria label covers the entirety.
Ah, okay. So,
okay, now to complete that challenge,
change.
you're welcome to pop.
Okay, so, right here. Close the area level should be on the map container with the role image. Oh, God. Role image. Map of Hawaii.
To this aria label, accessible. We can use some of these skills back in our app to position our image banner on top when you're ready to do that. Okay, so this.
Hold on, how far out? Let's see. If we can finish this by today, that would be extremely good. By tonight. Okay, that might be a stretch. Actually, we can. But tomorrow we can do JavaScript. Yeah, we can.
First image should have a banner in the top left-hand corner that says exclusive. So let's just grab the HTML for that, and we're going to put it right in here between the image and the caption text. And if we hit save, we should be able to see the banner. And there it is, right underneath. Okay, the banner has a class of img-banner. So let's head over to index, set up a selector for that, and add some basic styles. So the first thing we need to do is give it this red background color and white smoke for the text. And it needs to have some space around it, so I'm going to give it padding of 10 pixels, top and bottom, left and right. Okay, that is starting to look a little bit better. Now it is taking up the full width of the page. Because this div is a block level element, and we haven't set any width. What we want to do now is get it positioned so it's time for a challenge. Let's just paste it in right inside this image-banner. So I want you to position the image banner at the top left of the first image as per the slide. So we want it to look just like this. What CSS do you need to add to the parent element to make this work? Now, I'll leave that for you to think about, but you're going to need to create a selector for that parent. Also, just be aware that we are going from a full width here to just quite a narrow element. Now, you might think that you need to add a width property to bring the banner down. Actually, you'll find you won't. If you get confused by that, don't worry, we'll talk about it more after the challenge. Pause now. Okay, get this sorted, and I'll see you back here in just a moment.
Why you so camera shy? Oh, bro, what am I doing? What am I doing? It's not the. I'm just wasting time. Okay, let's lock it. No, bro. Okay, about copyright claims.
Okay, hopefully you managed to get that.
Give me a second. What's it lagging? Emon.
Banner positioned correctly. So it like this div. Here, up a here, and if we look back, hero pick right up, hero pick. Now doing that looks simple enough, but it's actually going to throw up a few issues, and this is going to give us a couple. So we'll come. We need to add a button. Right here next to the cat. This is what we'll be aiming for. But there are actually some really interesting things to look at along the way here. So we're going to break this down. In this script, we're going to get to. We've got the button and the text aligned at opposite ends of the container, and there's some clear space between them. But the button is this really odd shape because it's being stretched, and this is what we'll be looking at in the next script. So let's go ahead and add some HTML for our. So I'm just going to come in here inside each class, but underneath the paragraph. Okay, let's hit save. And see if our buttons have appeared. If we scroll down, we've got a button. Right, let's go ahead and add some basic
So
stuff.
down at the bottom,
So down at the bottom of
CSS,
index, I'll just select the button. Now the first thing that I want to do is remove the border from the button. So let's set the border to and the background color of the button is going to be the same as the exclusive banner. And the actual text on the button will have the color of white smoke. Now the button definitely needs some padding. So let's go for 10 pixels top and bottom and 15 pixels left. And if we look at the slide, I think we've got a bolder font here. So I'm going to give this a font weight of 700. And lastly, to keep the layout realistic, I'll give it a cursor of points. Okay, now let's check back on the slide and just focus on how the buttons and text. We want to have the button on the same level as the text. They're aligned at opposite ends of the parent container, which is the div with the class, and there will always be some white space. So this leads us to a challenge. Just bear with me while I cut and paste it right in here. I want you to position the text and button at opposite ends of the parent element. Make sure that there's always at least 20 pixels of space between the button and even when you make the browser narrower. And I just want to warn you that when you complete
Hold on, let's find a good mix.
this challenge, it's not going to look exactly like this. We're actually going to see some white space between the top of the button and the image. That is absolutely fine. We will be dealing with that a little bit. Pause now and get this challenge sorted out, and I'll see you back here in just a minute.
So emotional. Like, my pussy is so good. Like, it's so good. Fuck.
That my little what she been pulling up on her. Come right to the spot, I put dick in her stomach. Play with that pussy, play with some more money. Young nigga rich and I keep a hoe coming. Shares on my face, all I see is abundance. Caught the new color in the truck like it's nothing. Riding in the spaceship with stars on the roof, but you still watching out for the Johnnies. Lil' mama bad, stuck on the passport. Money on the dashboard, foot on the dash. Strap like a task force. Hit it from the bed, bitch, I'm a bad boy. Put on the tab, allergic to broken. I heard it's contagious. Been rapping all night and I counted up daily. Breaking up back, got her calling me baby. Pull up with 10, she know I appreciate it. Pull it to the crib, the neighborhood gated. Residency for the summer is Vegas. Spirit of Essex, cruising Miss Daily. I'm flown in the back of the Mercedes. Flown on the track, got me famous. Fucking this hoe to a cadence. Mob in the spot, got it stainless. The rich understand my language. You see a pretty picture, I paint it. You see a pretty face, I paint it. Just make them more cakes than Danish. We live across the states and they hate it. Lil' mama bad, stuck on the passport. Money on the dashboard.
This text is not quite centered. Margin left of investigate. Just bear with me while I paste it in. I want you to find the cause of the white space between the top of the button and the bottom of the image and eliminate. And I've put this challenge inside this item-img selector because that is where you'll need to write some code. And Googling white space below images is going to help you. So pause now, search online, and I will see you back here when you've got this sorted.
It's a big dish. Niggas ain't able, ain't on the list. Hermes Gator, my name on the list. Go AP, it's the same color Chris. Don't play with my name. 25, 26, Range Rover, back to back, I'm out of your range. Working, I was trying to get back, plus more these niggas can't feel my pain. Caught in this shit, ain't no stopping it, I can't even tell you what's in my brain. Got my own style and no copying, and you can tell it just ain't a phase. I grew up with niggas that hustle, that came up from nothing, that won my age. Outside, I came from that dirty, this shit, they get ugly in many ways. Rockstar cut up my hoodie, these niggas will put on anything. And it ain't nothing left to it, I know how to do it, cause I was made for this shit. Nigga, I prayed for this shit. Well, handmade, it's from Swiss. Rest of my plate, steak of fish. At the round table, it's a big dish. Niggas ain't able, ain't on the list. Hermes Gator, my name on the list. Go AP, it's the same color Chris. Don't play with my name. Young gon' wanna buy back these 900 racks, they'll build my stage. Black bulletproof Cadillac with a bed in the back, I've been rolling for days. Ain't really cool with your cats, I call them with spade, that's way for pain. Niggas better act they wage. Why the fuck nigga like Sage? Every girl doing everything I want, you would've thought I had a trainer. Way I'm stretched out how it ain't no way I ain't a trainer. Hopping out the Roberto, they don't wave and see my game. Sticking this shit up plural, you gon' know that I was made for this shit. Nigga, I prayed for this shit. Well, handmade, it's from Swiss. What's my plate? Steak of fish. At the round table, it's a big dish. Niggas ain't able, ain't on the list. Hermes Gator, my name on the list. Go AP, it's the same color Chris.
Same color Chris to put my name. Find the color of white space. So, white space. Awesome. And wait. I know what you will be doing again. What we just did to the morning. I mean, just what you'll be doing again. Comment when you're doing. Baby, come do it, I'm doing it. I'm going, come on. But against the rod, I was getting out, giving him on driving the beacon out. Display block? Oh. That's the first time Stack Overflow has helped you.
Okay, so hopefully you found out what we need to do here is set the images in web. That is ready for that. I'll see you ready for that. I'll see you.
I see you, Sneaky. Sneaky scram. See you
in the next scrim.
I'm giving up. Yeah.
So let's stop this strange vertical stretching that we've got on these buttons. We want it this, so the button should be vertically aligned in the center of its parent. So what is actually going on? The default behavior of a child element in a Flexbox container is to vertically stretch to fill that. And what we need to do is override that default. And we've already studied a technique that we can use to do. This button is inside with the class. Here's the button right here. So caption is the container. And if we have a look at the CSS select, we can see that it is a flex container. So here is a challenge. I want you to centrally align the button on the vertical axis. So it looks like the screenshot on the slide. So we want it to look exactly like this. Okay. Pause now. Flip back to any previous scrims you need to if you can't remember how to center a child element in a Flexbox container. And I'll see you back here. What you need here is
pockets full like puppet subs. I find a plague and magic. They tryna put me in Toronto, can't cause I'm a felon. Ain't finna go to war no more, cause all these niggas telling. We ran this shit up super fast, like these little niggas snatching. I got the highs of hand to catch my fit, it costs a 20. Just off my neck and wrist alone, she coming out of pain.
And as soon as we do that, the button is aligned exactly how we want. Okay, great stuff for getting that working, and no problem. So let's just delete all of the hard work that we did. And I'm going to use a new property.
Record one line hard work, bro.
Align self allows us to take control of an individual element's alignment when it's inside a flex container. So let's see how it works by setting this to flex start. And that aligns the button to the start of the flex container. And as this is a flex direction of row, that will align it to the top. If we want it aligned to the bottom, we can change this to flex. And there we are. That aligned. Let's check out stretch. That takes us right back to how it was. That shows you that stretch is actually the default. Now we want it aligned in the center. So let's try align cell. Okay, that is looking good. Now you have another CSS skill, and align cell can be really useful when one element in a flex container needs adjustment. Okay, so all that's left to do is implement this chat box. Now, just like this exclusive banner, the chat box icon sits on top of other. But it is different because the chat box maintains the same position at the bottom right-hand corner of the browser window, no matter where on the site we scroll. So before we can implement this, we need to know how we can make CSS to make an element stay in the same place relative to the window, regardless. We're going to use position fix to do that. So let's come on to that next. Let's look at how we can use position fix to take an element out of the regular flow of content and take more control over where we position. Taking an element out of the regular flow and controlling where we position it might sound familiar. Does it remind you of position absolute and position fixed are kind of similar and often confused. But they're definitely not the same. Let's look at the difference. So when we looked at position absolute, we took an element and we set it to position absolute. We gave it a top of 0 and a left of 0, and we found it positioned itself relative to the window in the top left-hand corner. We set its container to position relative, and that positioned it inside its container, but on top of the other content, which is exactly. And if we take a look at our project, we can see the image banner positioned in the corner of the image, and of course, as we scroll, the image banner stays with the image. Let's contrast that with position fixed. So we have a site here with a header, a hero section, and images, and we want an annoying pop-up menu box to appear right on top of the content. There we are. It's sitting right in the middle of the page, obscuring until the user interacts with it and gets. Now I want to see what's in this website. So I'm going to scroll down. So the header moves off the page and the footer comes into view. And look where the modal is. It's in exactly the same position in the browser window, locking. So regardless of whether we scroll up, the modal stays in the same. So there we see the key difference between position absolute and position absolute and position absolute will position an element relative to the window, but that element will then scroll with the other content. Position fixed will position the element relative to the window and locked in that position regardless of scrolling. Okay, let's take a look at some code. Here we have the Scrimba Times, which brings you top-notch reporting on all things. We have got Facebook trying to buy us. We've got the power of quantum computing finally managing to stop divs overflowing in CSS. We have got printers that can smell fear and job adverts that actually make sense. Now all of this is complete nonsense, of course, but this content is so good we don't want to give it away. This is for subscribers. So I've put together a paywall message that's going to sit on top of this content so people can't read it until they subscribe. Now right now the message is down here at the bottom, and if we just check
out this HTML, we can see we've got our articles, and then down here, outside of this main, we have got our modal pop-up, and it's got the class.
So let's reopen the mini
browser, and we'll head over to index.css, and we'll come down to the pop-up.
And I want to take the pop-up
out of the flow of content and position it in the middle of the window. So let's add position.
And as soon as I do that, so where is it? If we scroll to the top, if we scroll to the bottom, it's not there either.
It's gone. So where's it gone? Well, interestingly, position fixed has taken it outside of the flow of content, but also fixed it in its current position below the rest of the content. Remember, in the HTML, it's right here at the bottom after everything else.
So it's actually no longer
inside the browser window.
As it's outside of the flow of content,
and it keeps its position regardless of scrolling, we can't scroll down.
The only way to see it now
would be to resize the browser window, but there's actually no space to do that inside the Scrimba environment. So if you want proof that it is where I say it is, pause now, go to your main browser settings in Chrome or whatever browser you're using, and then you'll have space to stretch the mini browser down, and you will find it.
So let's use the top and left properties to fix it into view. So with top 0 and left 0, we have brought it into view. And now let's see what happens when we scroll. Well, it stays exactly where it is. We can scroll the content, but the modal pop-up keeps its position.
Okay, we want it right in the center, so we're going to use top, bottom, left and right, and set them all to 0.
And here comes the magic.
We'll set the margin to auto.
And there we are. We've got it positioned right in the center. And as we scroll, it stays in the center.
So what have we actually done here? We've positioned the div in a relative position relative to the viewport, the visible part of the browser.
That means it will always stay in the center,
even if we scroll.
The only way we can move it is to change the window size by resizing the browser. So if I move the browser up and down, we can see that the modal box moves to maintain its central. So let's just recap
when to use position absolute and when to use position.
We use position absolute.
Position an element relative to a containing element. But remember, if there's no positioned containing element, it will position itself relative to the window.
Now, in either case, the element scrolls with the content. We use position fixed.
To lock an element in a position relative to the window. It maintains that position even when scrolling.
Okay, we can put these skills to use in the challenge back in our project.
When you're ready, I'll see you there.
So now we know about position fixed. Let's use it to get this chat box
where we want it to be.
So what we're looking for is to have the chat box in the bottom right hand corner. And then as we scroll, the chat box will stay in the same position. It will not scroll with the content. So let's go ahead and add the HTML that we need. And over in index .html, I'm going to come in here outside of the main section because this chat box is not going to be part of the main content. It's going to sit on top of that content. So let's just have a look at this HTML. We have got a div with the class of chatbox-bg. And if we have a look at the slide, that div is going to give us this dark orange circle. Inside that div, we have got an image with the class of chatbox-image, and that is going to give us the speech bubble that we've got here. And I've actually just added that image, message.png. Okay, let's hit save and see what our chat box looks like. So if we scroll down to the bottom, there we are. We've got
Damn.
massive speech bubble image. So we need to add some style. Let's head over to index.css and I'll come right down to the bottom and I'll set up a selector for chatbox-bg. The first thing I'll do is give it the background color, which is this dark orange. And I'll also bring it down to size. So
want to give it a width of 40 pixels and a height of 40 pixels.
Now, before we can do anything
Now,
sensible,
before we can do anything
need to
sensible, we need to bring this image down to size.
Let's set up a selector
So let's set up a selector for
chatbox-img.
chatbox-img.
And because we want this
speech bubble image to sit right inside the circle, I'm going to give it a width of 50%.
Okay, that is starting to look a little bit more useful.
We want this square to actually be a circle. So let's give that a border radius of 50%.
And to keep things realistic,
I'll set cursor pointer.
And I also want to give it
a light shadow. So let's say box shadow.
And I'm just going to choose a subtle soft ray that doesn't radiate too far. Okay, we've got it partway there. Now it is time for a channel. And I'm just going to paste it right in. Okay, so your challenge is to center the speech bubble image inside the circle. Now, just to be clear, at the end of this challenge, we will not have fixed the position of this chat box. We're going to come on to that in a minute. So when you've completed this challenge, it will look like this. It will still be right in the bottom left-hand corner underneath all of this. Now, I've also put that you need some CSS because you need to actually write some code in two places. You're going to need one line of CSS here and another line of CSS. Now we have seen this earlier in the project. So if you're feeling stuck, do check back and look at some earlier scripts. Pause now, get this sorted, and I'll see you back here in just a minute.
Why these niggas wanna envy me? Feeling they hearts with envy. Niggas going for an image, and I don't wanna admit it. Extending starch in my linen, mixing it up, be a chemist. Spit it like Nas on the illest. It's just a Bible of the fittest. Still out of town, like I live out of town in the village. Yeah, this the village. Yeah, I hear you come, but this next go around, I'm coming like John Dillinger. Told my count when we hit 100 days in a year, we count every penny. Putting shit on, I've been dripping shit down to the ground. Nigga been cutting up. Hot as the sauna, I'm burning up. Running it, mouth, I done heard enough. You new to the money, ain't made enough. I'm working it out like I'm turning up. Digging her mouth, she love to go south. Baby, give me that cranium. AP, this titanium. Going, ain't no taming them. One of the illest. Money, I wanna print it. Money, this shit endless. Hundreds, I keep spending. Money, this shit endless. Spilling, fresh out of Linux. Trendy, I can invent it. Told you, I ain't no gimmick. I'm seeing this shit through a scope. It feel like I've been here before. That money make a young nigga glow. That thing make a pussy nigga troll. I'm a hustler, I whip it out of bowl. Clipping that soft flesh show, oh net. Pets, selling them hoes. Don't wanna, I'm in the back of the back. Stomp a few of the walls. Counting this paper, I'm thumbing through hundreds. This money got me in the show. Mix shit, check the cap, put it on wax. And it's in bold. Need me some rest like everyday income tax. Bringing a load. One of the illest. Money, I wanna print it. Money, this shit endless. Hundreds, I keep spending. Money, this shit endless. Spilling, fresh out of Linux. Trendy, I can invent it. Told you, I ain't no gimmick. One of the illest.
10 across the board.
Money.
Who's fucking with Gunner? Nobody. Playmakers.
Run that back, turbo. Did the dash and I blow the brains. Dash and I blow the brains. Got cash on a private plane. Couple M's on sound exchange. Rich man, no time to explain. Rich man plane. Lay back with a wood grain. Support no the pilot by the name.
As we've done that, we've got chatbox icon center inside the circle, which is exactly where we want. So
What?
Took me, I'ma go AWOL. People gon' think I'm insane. I'm skeet to her face. Fell in love with her brain.
congratulations. Okay, that brings us on to the final challenge. Now, I'm just going to delete this challenge here, else we're going to get a little bit cluttered up, and I'll put the new challenge right in here. I want you to position the chat box in the bottom corner of the window, 6 pixels from the bottom, and 6 pixels from the right. Okay, pause now. Okay, get this sorted, and I'll see you back here in just a minute.
All the hills got red on the bottom. Don't compare you up, not in my column. Don't fall, we ain't know in the autumn. I'm a man, I'm solving my problems. Told my family I got them. You talking that mouth, we ain't bout it at all. Now they don't know who shot them. Love Atlanta. Too much money, my family. Gonna put up in the phantom. See same color banana. Seeds all on the bandana. Please don't correct my grammar. Creed on all of the candles. Achieve, I have my standards. Hit the dash and I blow the brains. Count cash on a private plane. Couple M's on the sound exchange. Rich man, no time to explain. Rich man plane. Maybach with a wood grain. To a port, know the pilot by the name. Out flight out of Spain.
Oh, so it can be everywhere.
Still hit your block, leave a man down. Shoot like I'm shooting at the range. Season, we get the lows, wrist like Chris, cut your stones, little baby lit, gonna take her home, pounds on chip, we on the road, look we done grow, we will sell out in your soul, them and soul, shoot till legit, we done conquer the grove, when you really rich on a Sunday, your bank don't close. Drippin' is giving fluorescence, I came with the dressing, he got in my presence, I crack fully proof and protected. You can shoot if you want learn a lesson. Got your hoe in my possession. You don't hit it right when she pull up, we sexing. I'm bossing that pussy, no question. She biting like Tyson, we plugging and fighting. Gon' get your ass down and get drunk on the dice. I better with Roscoe, he crossing like Christ. But I got a hot when it's burning like
what? Nine, man.
Do what I want cause I'm grown. Smoking out the back when I blow.
And when we do, good job, and congratulations for each other. Taking elements, what happens when content is stacked on top of other content. In other words, we need to think about these Z. At the moment, I'm working on a card game app, and I've got 6 cards stacked. If we just have a quick look at the HTML, we can see that we've got the cards here, and each card is inside its own. All of the cards have got the generic CSS class, and then they've also got an individual class, card 1, card 2, card 3. Now in index.css, we can see we've got the generic card class selector right here, and all of the cards are set to position. And then if we scroll down, we can see that I'm just positioning them with the left and the top. Now what I want to do here is to be able to hover over a card and come to the front, so it's on top of all of the other cards, and can be seen in its entirety. And I can do that very easily with Z. Let's just scroll up. I've got this pseudo selector here to pick up the hover state, and I'm just going to come in here and set Z index to 1. Now look what happens when I hover over a card. So I'll come onto this back card, and there we are. It comes right to the front. It sits on top of all of the other content.
all of the
it's
other
still
content.
in its position.
It's still in its
card
position.
1 is
Card
left
1
0,
is
top
left
0.
0,
It's
top
actually
0.
right in the top
it's actually right in the top left-hand corner of
but
its
it's on
container.
top now of
But it's
all
on
of the
top
cards
now of
which
all
were
of the
previously
cards which were
underneath it.
previously
And I can come
underneath it.
round and
And
come
I
in
can
on,
come
say,
round
the
and come
king
in
of
on, say,
clubs
the
or
king
the
of
jack
clubs
of hearts,
or the
and
jack
that
of
card,
hearts,
as I hover
and that
over it,
card,
will
as
come
I
to
hover
the
over it,
front.
will come to
So
the
how does
front.
Z-index
So
work?
how does
Well,
Z-index
Z-index
work?
controls
Well,
the
Z-index
Z-axis
controls
order
the
of positioned
Z-axis
elements
order of
and their
positioned elements
descendants.
and their
Now,
descendants.
I've said here positioned
Now, I've said here
elements. What
positioned
exactly
elements.
does that mean?
What exactly
well,
does
a
that
positioned
mean?
element
Well,
is
a
any
positioned
element
element
that's
is
set
any
to position
element that's set
relative,
to position relative,
absolute,
position absolute,
fixed, or
position
position
fixed,
sticky.
or position
Now,
sticky.
again, if we just quickly
Now,
check
again,
the
if we just
CSS,
quickly check the
position
CSS,
absolute is used
position
here,
absolute
so
is
all
used
of our
here,
card
so
elements
all of our
are
card
position
elements are
elements,
position
and that is
elements.
crucial
And that
to
is
making
crucial
Z-index
to making
work.
Z-index
Okay, so now
work.
we've got that foundation.
Okay, so now we've got
Let's
that
just
foundation.
play with Z-index.
Let's just play with Z-index.
So the most
a little.
important thing
So the
is
most
that
important
the highest
thing
number
is that the
will be
highest
closest
number
to the
will be
front.
closest
So
to
if
the
I comment
front.
out the
So if I
Z-index
comment
1
out
here,
the Z-index
and we
1
come down
here,
here to say
and we come down
card
here to
1,
say
and here
card
I'll
1,
put a
and
Z-index
here
of
I'll put a
1.
Z-index of 1.
And as soon as we do that, of course,
And as soon
the
as we do
card
that,
comes
of
to
course,
front.
the card
Now
comes
I'm
to
going
the
to
front.
give card
Now I'm going to
3
give
a
card
Z-index
3
of
a
2.
Z-index of 2.
And there we are, look, card 2
And there we are,
is
look,
now
card
in front
2
of
is
card
now in
1.
front.
That's
card
because
1.
2
That's
is
because
higher than
2
1. Now
is
we
higher
can
than
use
1.
minus
Now
numbers.
we can
If
use
I
minus
change this
numbers.
to a
If I change
-2,
this to a
card 3
-2,
actually
card
disappears
3
behind
actually
all
disappears
other
behind
cards.
all
You can
other
just see it
cards.
poking
You
out
can
there
just see
at
it
the
poking
back.
out there.
Now there
at the
is a
back.
little bit more
Now
complexity.
there is a little
here.
bit
I'm
more
just going to
complexity here.
delete
I'm just
these
going to
Z-indexes.
delete these Z-indexes.
When you use Z-index
When
to
you
arrange
use Z-index
elements
to
on the
arrange
Z-axis,
elements on the
you
Z-axis,
form what's called a
you
stacking
form what's called a
context.
stacking
Now,
context.
stacking context
Now,
can
stacking
be
context
complicated,
can be
but what we have here is quite
But
a
what we
basic
have here is
example.
quite a basic
At the moment,
example.
as no
At
element
the moment,
specifically
as no
starts
element
the
specifically
stacking
starts the
context,
stacking context
is
the stacking context is established
element,
by the
which in this
element,
case
which in this case
HTML
is the
element.
HTML.
So everything in the page
So
is
everything in the
stacking on
page
top
is
of the
stacking on
HTML
top of the
element.
HTML
Now
element.
our cards
Now
are inside
our
this
cards
container,
are inside
and
this
in the
container,
CSS,
and in
we
the
could set that
CSS,
container
we could set
to
that
have a
container
pink
to
background.
have a pink background.
Okay, now we can see that.
Okay,
really
now we can
clearly.
see that
If I
really
come down
clearly.
to
If I
card
come
1
down
again,
to card
and
1
I
again,
set the
and
Z-index
I set
to
the
-1,
Z-index to -1,
it disappears behind the
it
background.
disappears behind
And if I
the
toggle it on and off,
and if
we
I
can
toggle
see
it
that
on and
in
off,
action.
we can see
now
that
this
in
container
action.
class
Now this container
does not
class
have Z-index
does not have
set,
Z-index
and that means
set,
that Z-index
and that means
is
that
defaulting
Z-index
to
is
auto.
defaulting to auto.
And the auto value of Z-index
And the auto value
is
of
0.
Z-index is
So it
0.
then figures that
So it
card
then
1
figures
is
that card 1
behind the
is
container
behind
because
the
that has
container
the Z-index
because
of
that has the
-1,
Z-index of
and
-1
is of
and
course lower
-1
than
is
0.
of course lower
Now
than
look
0.
what happens when
Now look what
I
happens
delete
when
the
I
Z-index
delete
of
the
auto,
Z-index
and I
of
replace
auto,
it with a
and I
Z-index
replace
of
it
0.
with a Z-index
Well, as soon
of
as I
0.
do that,
Well, as
the
soon as
card
I do
comes
that,
back.
the card
now
comes
that's kind
back.
of strange
Now
because
that's
we've got
kind
a
of
0
strange
here,
because we've got a 0
and
here,
card 1
and
is set to
card
Z-index
1
of
is set to
-1.
Z-index
So
of
how come
-1.
it's
So
in front
how come
of
it's
the
in
element
front
that is
of
set
the
to
element
0?
that is set
Well,
to
here
0?
things start to get
Well, here
slightly
things start to get
complicated.
slightly
But a parent
complicated.
element with
But a
position
parent
relative
element with position
and a
relative
Z-index which
and
is
a
set to a
Z-index
number,
which is set to
i.e.
number,
anything which is not
i.e.
auto,
anything
the
which is not
default,
auto, the default
does establish a
does
stacking
establish
context.
a stacking
So now
context.
elements
So
are
now
not stacking
elements
relative
are
to
not
the
stacking
HTML,
relative to the
they're stacking
HTML,
relative to
they're
their
stacking
container.
relative to their
And the
container.
significance of that
And the
is,
significance of
whatever
that is,
Z-index I
whatever
give these
Z-index
cards,
I give
they
these
are
cards,
never going to
they are
stack
never going
behind
to stack
their container.
behind their container.
So I could give this a
So
Z-index
I could give
of
this a
minus
Z-index
10,000.
of minus 10,000.
It's not going to make any difference.
It's not going to make
an
any
element
difference.
in a stacking
An element
context
in a stacking
will not
context
stack
will
behind
not
the
stack
element
behind
which
the
establishes
element
that
which
stacking
establishes
context,
that stacking
which in this
context.
case is
Which
the
in this
container
case is
because
the
it's got
container
position
because it's got
relative and
position
Z-index
relative and z index set
So all of the descendants of that container can be in the stacking context. You'll be able to move them backward or
You'll be able to
forward.
move them backward or
Push them back.
You'll be able to push them back or bring them
but you
to
will
the
not
front,
be able to
but
push
you will
them
not be able to
behind the
push them
container.
behind
Now
the
things can
container.
get horribly
Now
confusing.
things can
with
get
stacking
horribly
context,
confusing with stacking
and there are
context,
various ways
and there
of
are various
establishing
ways
the
of
stacking
establishing the stacking
and you can have
context.
one inside
And you can have
another.
one
And if you
inside
run into
another.
problems
And
when
if you run
using
into
Z
problems when using
figuring
Z
out
index,
which element
figuring out
establishes
which
the stacking
element
context
establishes the
is
stacking
probably the
context
first
is
thing to
probably the
focus on.
first thing to
Okay,
focus
that's a good overview
Okay,
of Z
that's a good
index,
overview
and in
of
the
Z
next
index, and in the next.
Told my darlings we back to this eating. I was broke, but I still kept it decent. Now we well.
Okay, it's time for a
Okay,
challenge.
it's
with
time
Z
for a
index.
challenge with Z index.
Here's a layout for a magazine.
Here's a
called
layout
Fashion
for a
Trends,
magazine called
and as you
Fashion
can
Trends,
see, we've got
and
four
as you can
images
see, we've
stacked
got
on
four
top of each
images
other, so
stacked
they
on top of each
overlap.
other, so
We've
they
got a
overlap.
banner across the
We've
middle,
got a banner
and a
across the
small
middle,
image
and a
attribution
small
banner
image
down
attribution
here.
banner.
Now all
down
of the
here.
HTML
Now all of
has
the
been done
HTML
for you,
has
and
been
you
done
can see
for
that
you,
right
and
here.
you can see
And
that
I've also
right
done
here.
a lot
And I've
of
also
the
done a
CSS.
lot of the
So if we
CSS.
open up the mini
So if
browser,
we open up
we
the
can
mini
see
browser,
that we're not doing
we can
badly.
see that
We've
we're
got
not
the
doing
four
badly.
images
We've got the
positioned in
four
that
images
corner,
positioned
but
in
they're
that
not
corner, corner, but they're not stacking properly. They're just stacking in the order of the HTML, and we want them to stack like this.
Your challenge is to use Z-index to finish this layout.
To finish this layout, and I'm going to give you a little extra hint. You only need to write Z-index below this challenge
from line
text.
40.
So from line 40,
Just find 3 places.
just
where
find
you can
3
use
places
Z-index
where you can use
to get
Z-index
the layout
to
to
get
look like
the
that.
layout to look
Okay,
like that.
pause now. Take
Okay,
all of the
pause
time
now.
you need,
Take all
but
of the
don't
time
come
you
back
need.
until
But
you've
don't come back
completed this
until
challenge.
you've completed this challenge.
Bro.
Fans will spot 'em. Talk of the topic. Can't even stop it. Lot of you copy. Here for the profits. Find your hobby. Cause it's bread on your noggin. Couldn't even tell you how much I made in a year. Making this paper, you niggas can't even
Yes.
so high I'm way up on my space on the lip. I got space on the lip. I put Giddy in my ring, pussy wet and clean. Her mouth all on my thing, I made her swallow cream. I've been putting busy since 2017. Effing in the glizzy, I'm protective of my team. Feel like to the fullest, cause this shit ain't guaranteed. No, got rich now, you can't tell me, go ahead, you can proceed. I hope on see her up, I catch her up, I gotta squeeze. My New York bitch got slappy touch, she sucked me till I ski. Caught a new G-Wagon, my bro thought it was a Jeep. It's a beauty pageant, pretty vibes is all I see. I need me a nugget, I weigh sauce all on my teeth. Ain't with the protesting on my socks, got double G's. This ain't overside, it's my life as we speak. Mama was surprised when I passed the new keys. Wish you was alive, he be so proud of me. Watch out for the sign, that's my lines, I can read. 6 speed, I'm in good. Can't even tell you how much I made in a year. Paper, you niggas can't in the field. So high I'm way up on my space on the lip. Space on the lip. Made a few M's. I try to say yeah, but I don't mean none of them. My clothes are tailored, my shit be cream de la creme. An average player, I put my knees in the rim. Been ready from the start, sweaty in my palms. Let it say I'm on, got baguettes in my charms. His nose, take his jury to my jewel like a punch. My soul, please don't push me every battle I done won. Roof panoramic, look up, I can see the sun. My slime got a Grammy today, nigga, we the one. My Spanish mama Sita say she wanna have some fun. I gotta have a diva just to compliment her done. Used to be a Regal, now we pull up in a done. I fuck one of my teachers, now my leader to her son. Said they say you only safe unless you keep a gun. I know how these niggas play, so I ain't sparing none. 6 speed, I'm in good. Couldn't even tell you how much I made in a year. We getting this paper, you niggas can't in the field. So high I'm way up on my space on the lip. Space on the lip. I made a few M's. I try to say yeah, but I don't mean none of them. My clothes are tailored, my shit be cream de la creme. An average player, I put my knees in the rim. My knees in the rim.
Gives everything a Z-index. Okay.
Rich ass bitch from the west side, only said bitch like me and his dream. Really thought he was gonna get some. Nigga, please get on knees. I got these hoes mad as hell. I missed the Louis with Sheen. Ain't no stressing about no nigga. These niggas worry about me. Kitty good. This way I'm fat. Once you start fuck with them play man, how you can stay where you at. I'm out of reach. I'm kinda rest. I can't even call you back. This pussy too good, you ain't had no value. Might well fall, baby.
He say that booty so bad, he in love with the wall. Don't like the hill too much, I put it in his
We can only see the
We
top
can
half
only
of the
see
woman,
the top
and
half
we're
of the
seeing
woman, and we're seeing
other elements.
3 of the other elements.
So, the first thing that we need to do then is come onto box 2.
Come onto
box
box
2 is
2. So box 2 is containing this image
and
right
let's just
here.
give that a
And
Z
let's just
index
give that
of
a
1.
Z index of 1.
And that brings it to the front.
And that brings
here.
it to the
Let's
front.
go for a Z
here.
index
Let's
of
go
2
for a Z
here.
index of 2.
Okay,
here.
that is looking pretty
Okay,
good.
that is
All we're
looking pretty
missing
good. All
is
we're
this
missing
banner.
is this
So
banner.
let's come down to
So
that.
let's
We've
come
got
down
the
to that.
title
We've got
text
the
right here.
title text
I'm
right
going to
here.
give it a
I'm
Z
going to give it a
of
Z
3.
index of 3.
So we're done. Let's just
So
take
we're
one.
done. Let's just take one.
More. Massive congratulations. Massive congratulations on finishing this. You have worked really hard. You have worked really hard. Flex children, right up children, right up. Lines used as lines used as start with an that doesn't start with an that doesn't match
I think we're done. Right. So I think that's gonna be it for today's stream. After 2 hours straight. Oh my. So we have finished Essential CSS starting tomorrow or today. It's already 2 a.m. What? Yeah, 2 a.m. But I think today was Monday. Yo. Anyway, starting today, we're gonna be doing Essential JavaScript. Should be extremely fun. Better than CSS, but I hate CSS. But I just love it, but I hate it. It's a love-hate relationship, but it's okay. So, thank you guys for watching. Be sure to use, my link so you can get 20% off of Scrimba. It supports me, in my studying. And yeah, I hope to see you guys in tomorrow's stream. You guys have a good night or a good morning or a good evening.